At Sertoma, we are committed to fostering a more inclusive world, one where everyone has the opportunity to connect and communicate freely. Many in our communities live with hearing loss or have loved ones who do, which makes our mission all the more personal and essential. That's why today's session, Creating Connection, Supporting and Communicating with People with Hearing Loss, is so important. We've gathered insights from leading experts in educational institutions to share practical tips and strategies for more inclusive communication. While we won't cover everything, this session is a meaningful first step towards bridging communication gaps, often unintentional, that can make someone feel left out. Our goal is simple: to help you make your conversations more welcoming, supportive, and accessible to all. So let's get started. In this session, we're going to go over what I call the 5 B's of creating connection. When I say be here, I mean BE, and first up is be attentive. When speaking with someone who is hard of hearing, it's important to be mindful of your positioning. In fact, these are good communication practices for everyone, but they're especially helpful in this context. As the Hearing Center of Fort Payne advises, make sure you're facing the person directly. This not only reduces the chance of sound being muffled or lost, such as when your head is turned or you're in another room, but it also allows them to see your face clearly. Many people with hearing loss rely on lip reading or facial expressions to help interpret speech. A well-lit environment further supports this by making your facial cues easier to see and understand. Next, focus on speaking clearly. Clarity and proper enunciation are essential. According to the University of California, San Francisco Health, it's best to avoid blending consonants, speaking too quickly or too slowly, or over-exaggerating your speech. These habits can actually make it harder for someone with hearing loss to understand you. UCSF also recommends avoiding shouting, as it can distort the sounds you are able to hear and make speech reading more difficult. Additionally, consider whether the person has a dominant ear. Not everyone experiences hearing loss in both ears equally, and many people have one ear that hears better than the other. If that's the case, try to position yourself on their stronger side when speaking. If you're unsure, it's perfectly okay to ask. Just be sure to do so in a respectful and considerate way. Many people aren't sure how to get the attention of someone with hearing loss, but it's actually quite similar to how you'd respectfully engage with anyone. Start by getting into their line of sight and saying their name. This lets them know that you're addressing them directly and allows them to focus their attention on the conversation. The Hearing Center of Fort Payne advises against touching someone to get their attention, as it can be startling, especially for individuals who may not hear you approaching. We touched on this earlier, but it's worth emphasizing again. Take a pause. In other words, slow down. Speaking quickly or mumbling can make it significantly harder for someone with hearing loss to follow what you're saying. The Hearing Center recommends pausing between sentences and giving the person time to process and respond before moving on. This not only improves understanding, but also reduces the mental effort it takes to follow a conversation, helping them stay more engaged without having to fill in as many gaps. And when the person is speaking to you in return, be sure to really listen. Active listening shows that you value what they're saying and it helps reduce the frustration that can come with having to repeat themselves. It's a simple but powerful way to show respect and engagement. Lastly, be mindful of your hands and your face. Keep your hands away from your mouth while speaking. Habits like smoking, eating, or drinking can obstruct your mouth and make it harder for others to hear or speech read. According to UCSF Health, even facial hair, such as beards or mustaches, can interfere with a person's ability to read lips and pick up on facial cues, which are essential tools for many people with hearing loss. Clear visibility makes all the difference. Now we move on to our second B, be aware. Many of us struggle to hear in crowded or noisy environments. Now imagine how much more challenging that can be for someone with hearing loss. Background noise makes it significantly harder to follow conversations, especially in busy public places like restaurants or stores. Before starting a conversation in these settings, the Hearing Center recommends applying the tips from the Be Attentive phase. Position yourself so you're facing the other person and speak clearly. In some cases, it may be best to move to a quieter location or wait until the environment is less noisy. This is also a good time to revisit the importance of vocal volume. It's a common instinct to raise your voice or even shout when someone doesn't hear you, but for most people with hearing loss, that's the last thing they want. Shouting can feel aggressive or patronizing and may actually make speech reading more difficult due to exaggerated mouth movements. Instead, speak at a natural, moderate volume and pace. In short, speak the way you'd want someone to speak to you, with clarity, respect, and consideration. HealthyHearing.com compares getting someone's attention to the difference between a tap and a clap. A tap is gentle, quiet, and unobtrusive, while a clap is louder and more abrupt, even if unintentionally aggressive. Similarly, UCSF Health notes that many individuals with hearing loss are particularly sensitive to loud sounds. By avoiding harsh or jarring approaches, you demonstrate both care and respect for their comfort. Finally, a word about group settings. People with hearing loss can often be unintentionally excluded or overlooked in larger conversations. Be mindful of their engagement and ensure they're following along at a level they're comfortable with, without putting them on the spot. Avoid sudden shifts in conversation by signaling when the topic changes. Repeat key information or questions as needed, and if you're sharing important details like times, addresses, or phone numbers, consider writing them down or asking the person to repeat them back. UCSF notes that many words and numbers can sound alike, so taking a moment to confirm understanding can make a big difference. Now, a quick note on repetition. When someone asks us to repeat ourselves, our instinct is to often say the exact same thing again. However, many experts recommend rephrasing instead. Using simpler or more familiar words, often with fewer syllables, can make it easier to understand. Rephrasing also helps clarify the message when only part of a sentence was missed or misunderstood. The Hearing Center of Fort Payne explains that for many people with hearing loss, repeatedly asking someone to repeat themselves can feel frustrating or even embarrassing. A small effort to reword what you said can make a big difference in keeping the conversation smooth, respectful, and inclusive. Our third B is to be a help. Beyond the small adjustments we've discussed so far, there are additional ways you can support effective communication for both individuals with hearing loss and those around them. Share what you've learned about what works and what doesn't, and encourage others to be mindful communicators as well. When offering tips or suggestions to someone with hearing loss, do so with empathy and respect. The goal is to support, not correct. If the person is a family member, the experts at Healthy Hearing urge them to consider exploring auditory rehabilitation services. These programs are designed to help individuals and families adapt to hearing loss by offering tools like communication strategies, interpretation training, skill building, and counseling. It's about learning together and supporting one another in the process. One of the most meaningful ways you can help is by being a source of support. If the person is a close loved one, consider being actively involved in their hearing care. Attending appointments with them not only shows your love and support, but also ensures you both fully understand the situation and have the opportunity to ask questions. You may also observe things they haven't noticed, offering valuable input to healthcare providers. The Hearing Center also recommends a few practical ways to be supportive. First, encourage and support the consistent use of hearing aids or other communication devices. And two, make yourself available to attend important meetings or appointments where hearing critical information can be difficult. Your presence and encouragement can make a difference in how confident and connected someone feels as they navigate life with hearing loss. A quick but important note. While showing empathy and offering support is essential, it's just as important not to overdo it. As Healthy Hearing explains, if your loved one has untreated hearing loss and you find yourself constantly having to translate everything for them, you may be overcompensating for them. This kind of overcompensation can actually be harmful over time. It may come across as patronizing to the individual and can become emotionally exhausting for you. The key is to involve them, get their permission, their input, and their buy-in. If you're ever unsure whether to step in, just ask. Respect goes hand in hand with support. And finally, be an advocate. There are many meaningful ways to advocate for individuals living with hearing loss, such as make sure your friend or loved one is aware of their legal rights. Encourage accessible accommodations, such as ADA-compliant hotel features for those who are deaf or hard of hearing. Get involved with organizations like Sertoma Hearing Loss Association of America, American Speech Language Hearing Association, Hands and Voices, and others. Speak up for captioning and assistive listening devices in public venues, and stay informed about hearing health issues, new technologies, and best practices in communication. Being an advocate means not only supporting individuals in your life, but also helping create a more inclusive world for everyone with hearing loss. Never mind, it's not important. Many of us have said it when someone didn't catch what we said, and most of us have heard it in return. But according to experts from Healthy Hearing, UCSF, and the Hearing Center, it's a phrase best left out of our vocabulary. While it might seem harmless, it can actually make anyone, especially someone with hearing loss, feel dismissed, excluded, or unimportant. Miscommunication is a natural part of conversation, and repeating ourselves now and then is inevitable. But patience and empathy go a long way, so the next time you feel that phrase on the tip of your tongue, take a breath, pause, rephrase, and keep the conversation going. And that concludes today's session on creating connection, supporting and communicating with people with hearing loss. We recognize that for many of you, this is just the beginning of a journey toward more inclusive and mindful communication. But with a few thoughtful adjustments and a lot of heart, you can make a meaningful difference in how you connect with the hard of hearing community. As always, we encourage you to explore additional resources and support materials available at sertoma.org. Thank you for being with us today and for taking steps towards building a more welcoming and connected world for everyone.